I'm like so close to putting up the story. I'm so close. I haven't even got it up yet, but I'm trying to do it all at once and fit in a toilet break, which is a bit tricky. But a big hello, everybody. We got book club back again. We had got a new currently reading sign right there. We got people in the chat. We got a book to talk about. This is gonna be. We got subs coming. 11 months. How's 11 months work? That's pretty rad. It's pretty cool. Hi Thierry, how you been? How you going? How is everyone in the chat? Let me just quickly put in Twitch. Nope, that's Twitch. Twitch.tv/geekbomb. There. Oh, God. Why is it so difficult for me to do anything? I felt like my parents using social media for the first time. Hi, everyone. Hi, my chat. Weird chat's coming in a little bit. A couple of internets are not working super well today. But we got the last book of the Grishaverse series. And this is the last month we're going to be covering Grishaverse because then we've done it all. We've done it all. Hi there, Gamer Pup. Looks like a great read. And hello, Aro. I think that's it. Aaron's here as well, both in the chat, in the Twitch stream, and in the Discord, ready to jump in about this one, which will be really cool. As is Jimmy, aka Sprinkles the Dragon Cat. Last one so far. I can't not see more books. Oh, okay. Being written. Yeah, interesting. So I guess we get stuck into it. We are only talking about the first half of Rule of Wolves. Now, I would go into like a big thing about who Leigh Bardugo is, but like we're lead out. We're lead up. Oh, there we go. Clever Girl 50, also in the chat and on the Discord. So let's say a big hi to everyone so far. We got a Colleen. Hello. I'd love to hear your initial thoughts of Rule of Wolves in comparison to King of Scars, the last book, if you're there, Colleen. Your mute is still quiet. But I see that you're unmuted, but you are still quiet. Is it me? Look, maybe it's bloody me, right? Output device should be headphones. No, it should be working. Hey, Aaron, are you there? Let's see if it works for you. You didn't connect to Discord, also you aren't there. Oh, I'm not in there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I see what's happened. You were right. I wasn't in there. Sorry. So, Colleen, we'll go back to you because you did everything right and I did everything wrong. No, you were good. Colleen, how have you found this book compared to the last one?
Well, this one I thought got more intense. There's some really big changes or events that happen during this book. I did finish the book way before, so I'm just going back and reviewing now.
Got it. Okay. Are you finding new things this time around?
Yeah, I think I always pick up on that. This time I'm really noticing some of the dialogue and some of the interchange that I hadn't noticed as much before.
Okay, I like that. Aaron, over to you. How are you finding Rule of Wolves in comparison to King of Scars?
I'm about equal. I'm really enjoying the fact that it's not focused on Alina's thing, even though she was shown in the later part of this first half, which was nice. Nice little callback. But yeah, I do kind of like that it's still this whole big adventure world possibly crumbling around them kind of thing that they're going with.
Yeah, war has broken out for sure.
Although I did put this on Discord, like the little spoiler tags, like saying, I love Leigh Bardugo's writing. I also hate the fact that she keeps killing off side characters that I've like finally starting to enjoy. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, they're gone. Like Shadow and Bones. pretty much everybody outside of like, Mal and a few of the poor people, every new person that ever comes into her group dies horribly. And Six of Crows, it's Matthias at the end. And now this, possibly David, we don't know because they haven't found his body, but yeah.
I know. That's a ... big time. I just want to say a big hi to Stephen Serrell, who's in the comments. Welcome to Geek Bomb's Twitch streams. But you're probably like, I should probably actually read the books that you guys review. That's a really good start because this is Spoiler City. We are talking about the very first half of this book, Rule of Wolves. That's actually really hard for someone like me to say. Rule of Wolves. Rule of Wolves, which is book 2 in a duology by Leigh Bardugo, which continues the story set in the Grishaverse, this time about King Nikolai, who is the bastard king trying to save the entire Ravka. It is Aussie, huh? Real. It's Queensland, if I can even take it further than that. When you say like, oh, I've got to go swim in the pool. That's the one I miss the most. You get a Y, the letter Y in the word pool. It's very fascinating. My granddaughter keeps trying to join book club, but she's always a book behind. It's, you know what, Colleen, we've got people who've read ahead. We've got people who are a little behind. Thierry's in the chat saying, look, I didn't read Rule of Wolves. I skipped straight to Cersei for NBC, which is Nerdist Book Club, which we do on the last Wednesday of every month. I'm just here to see if I had Rule of Wolves, if I'll add it to the long list of books to read. So in saying that, Michelle's jumped in, going in alphabetical order. Michelle, so over to you. You finished this book because you power read it, right? Are you there, Michelle? M the cartographer?
I'm here.
Hi.
I'm here.
Ooh,
My internet may be doing things, so
it's a little staticky, but that's all good. If you want to tell us your thoughts on the book.
but
Okay, it's a little tricky.
can you hear?
Yes, it's cutting in and out a little bit. I'll read out your comment if you want to write it in the chat for sure.
Well, I've sort of no.
Okay, that didn't work. But there you go. Internet be damned today. I don't know if this is the time to say fuck Spectrum, but I'll get one in there because, like, for good measure. I can't get AT&T fiber in my place, so I had to uncancel my internet to sign back up to Spectrum. It wasn't a good day for me, but that's where we're at. Michelle, but if you comment in Twitch, it'll pop up here and we can read it out together as well. Sprinkles, the Dragon Cat. Jimmy, how'd you find this book in comparison?
I found this book to be a little bit more intriguing.
Yep.
You know, because I liked how they in this book went into the Shu dynasty and that all that stuff and the backstory, I guess, or the current story of what was going on with, I think, if I remember the names correctly, Nikolai.
Yep.
You know, so it was pretty good.
I like that. We are expanding into sort of like the depth and history of a lot of the places, the countries, and the interactions that they have with each other. Avery, you say that you're there. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Internet's great. Internet's great.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so I read Rule of Wolves the first time back when I like binge read the entire Grishaverse. So, you know, I'm kind of just like going through it again with this, but yeah, I thought, because I know that she wrote this one like during quarantine, so
we're that soon?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I really like it. I, like everyone else has been saying, I really like how she kind of expands into the world a little bit more. We get to see more about like the Shuhan and everything, and it seems like she has more of a grip on where she's going with the story in this one, whereas, like, you know, as we talked about with King of Scars, it went
batshit
kind of
crazy.
all over the place.
Yeah. Which brings me back to my next question and remind me to talk about the fact that the Shuhan's a matriarchy as well. Like, I think that's a really interesting conversation. But in sticking with sort of like the fact that Leigh Bardugo genre hops, to kind of suit the story of the book and the direction of the plot. What is the genre of Rule of Wolves thus far? Anyone? Whoever wants to jump in for that one. What do you think the genre for this one is? Especially if King of Scars ended up being like some real high fantasy kind of stuff there. Let's get this chat box over here. After my power listen last month, says Michelle, whose internet's just a little bit jittery at the moment. Yeah, you power at it. I skipped around this time with a more reasonable audio speed. I was really struck with how much this feels like a Cold War spy thriller, but make it fantasy to me. Ooh, I love that analysis. It is a little bit Cold War. I love the fact that Nina is deep undercover and that she's actually meeting other undercover spies who have been sort of like stationed for 13 years in Fjerda. And she's like, don't you just want to speak Ravkan? Don't you just miss that? I really love that side of it. But the spy intrigue / hear me out, Bridgerton. Anyone? We're going like full Bridgerton with the debutante ball. Yeah, Jimmy.
I've never seen Bridgerton, but I know that's very popular.
Yeah.
But I definitely did get the spy intrigue kind of thing, because it was just like, here we are behind enemy lines, and we don't want to cause any fuss, and we're trying to learn this stuff, and it's like very cool.
So we're gonna dress up in ball gowns and get a husband.
Exactly, very very similar to Final Fantasy VIII, where they go into the ballroom scene. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember that.
8.
But
no.
yeah, and like I think the Empress attacks the ball or something like that. Again, a long time ago, but very similar scene, very intrigued, very well done.
I feel
That's
like
the bottom line.
Leigh Bardugo's like, Maude, I know we kind of lost you in the last book. I know what'll get you back. I was like, oh, thank you. Because, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of that Bridgerton action, which I'm stoked about. But what does everyone else think the genre is? Are you getting that Cold War spy thriller kind of vibes? Aaron said in the comments that it feels a little bit more court intrigue than the previous book, seeing the different warmongering countries with Ravka in the middle. True Scorn, Chris says, I'm late, but I'm here. So a big hi to Chris. Thank you for joining. Clever Girl saying this book is just so much more focused. I believe that, and I agree with that completely as well. Are we all appreciating, enjoying it more than the last book? Just me? Not just me. All of us? Oh, Lisa's here. Hello, Lise. Are you able to say hello and tell us if you prefer this book over King of Scars and what genre you feel this could be?
Yeah. I don't know if I liked it more or less. This is my second time reading it. So I don't know if I liked it more or less than the first book, but I do see the it's more of a political fantasy this time than it has been in it, I think, in any of her other books, and I like that.
We are entering war. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. And I think my favorite parts, like the first time reading it through, I was kind of iffy about Nina's story. But like this time, I'm more invested with her than I am with everything else.
Same. And I felt really bad feeling and saying that last time when covering King of Scars, because everyone's like, oh, my girl Nina, especially sort of like Miss Necromancer. It's like, I love all the Nina parts. That's my favorite. And I'm here going, yeah, they're okay. I just didn't really connect with it as much for some reason. But this particular part where she's like, the man whose scalp she sliced off, she's staying in his house. Like, that's really, really exciting for me. Oh, Avery, we've lost you again. Yeah, look, internet's being a little bit troublesome for more than one person. So no stress with that one at all. M the Cartographer says, I can see Bridgerton vibes as well. I feel like the Fjerdans would love Regency era propriety. Yep, I said it. And then Game Wizard says Bridgerton meets Pride and Prejudice meets Game of Thrones, but with magic human monsters. You gotta send that to Leigh. That's like like that excerpt where it's like, X meets X, but that is just spectacular. That is not awkward at all for Nina. Lol. She's doing a really great job, but she's also falling in love with Hannah, which is really beautiful to see because, you know, they killed off her lover. Aaron, let's talk about the death of Matthias and the fact that Nina's sort of able to move on, but she's moving on to... Is she moving on to fill an LGBT quota? Is this a story that you're really enjoying and it feels genuine? Or are you still a little bit shattered that we are getting a majority of Fjorda culture here without Matthias? Do you miss him? A lot of questions.
Lots of questions. To answer that last one, yes, I do kind of miss Matthias. But I'm also kind of glad that she's seen it through a different perspective because she only saw Fjorda through his lens. But now he's seeing it through another person's lens who's more of the nobility rather than like a soldier. And through a woman's perspective as well as a woman who's a Grisha, hiding that she's a Grisha, whose dad happens to be the head Grisha hunter. So lots of layers there. But I also kind of feel, I think it's a rebound relationship. She's just finding somebody to fill that void because she just buried him in the last book and also at the same time met her. So it's like, I'm just finally starting to come to terms with my grief, and then I meet her, Hannah. So I think she's partially kind of filling that void, but I think it's also could potentially be a real relationship.
Yeah.
But probably doomed to fail because she is hell-bent on trying to kill her dad.
That's going to be incredibly uncomfortable. And it's actually really clever writing where Hannah kind of holds on to these cherished memories of when he showed decency. And this is a thing, and this is what I really love, where it's like, you know, the power of and, where it's like he can be a really evil militia leader and sometimes a good dad, you know, and seeing both sides of that.
But
yeah, I really...
It's a weird, like, thing where it's like, you know, if a good person does a bad thing, are they a bad person? And if a bad person does good things, does that make them a good person? It's like, that's kind of that weird question that doesn't really have an answer.
Shades of gray here. Lisa, you make such a great point. I just wanted to bring up sort of like the checklist because I know that some YA are either not doing a really good job of it or they're overcorrecting or, you know, some things can seem like a little bit of a checklist. But I agree with what you were saying, but I kind of would love to hear you make your point on Nina's sexuality. Lisa, I just saw that you commented about it and I liked your point. Did you want to discuss?
I don't really know what to discuss. I just remember, it's been a while, but I remember in the Six of Crows it being mentioned or them insinuating that she was bisexual. So I didn't feel it was strange that they moved her to a female, you know, love interest.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
It's not like Nina's kind of like, oh, I would never do something like that, but oh, I'm just so fascinated. It's actually a really natural transition for Nina to fall into this. And I love that it was like, it was never really like, oh, I'm attracted to her, she's hot. It was like, oh, I'm noticing little nuances or I'm noticing characteristics or I'm noticing traits that I'm really attracted to. But I also love seeing that they don't actually have as much in common, but that's almost Nina's type to a T if they have nothing in common and bond over those differences as well.
Her type is Fjordan.
Which she's trying to bring down from the inside. Like, that's kind of wonderful. I did notice that there was a part with Hannah where she was saying, because, you know, Nina would constantly reinforce, you're really beautiful, you're really stunning, you really own yourself, you're really sort of like, you know, all these really positive attributes. And then Hannah's sort of like, you know, we find out that she's got the ability to regrow her hair. She just hasn't, because when she shaved her head and then altered herself or tailored herself to look like a man, that's when she felt the most beautiful. And I kind of really, this is sort of like a past setting talking about very current trends, which is this sort of non-binary. I don't necessarily completely and wholly subscribe to gendered sort of identities. Steven Serrell dropping some subs in there in the notification scared me. I jumped. Thank you so much for that. Gifted a sub to Glassdagger22 and Treyomungus. Thank you, Steven. I really appreciate that. Le Emperor is here. Opposites attract even if they don't last, says STS. No, you're right. I'm just a jumpy person. It's fun. I actually been trying to set up where if you spend a certain amount of channel points, a scream will erupt. And I just don't know when it's going to happen or how. One day. I'll get to that. I've been stalling. I wonder why. Going back into the comments here, Avery said, I definitely read books that felt like they were just trying to check boxes, and I didn't feel that way with Nina and Hannah. Agree completely. Aaron says, I think she's trying to honor the promise, but I think she wants to do it by removing or depowering the cancerous elements. And that is in response to Matthias told her to save some compassion for his country. Well, she's going to save some passion. Smooch. I was just going to ask if you'd count that relationship as baiting. Stephen, that's a really great question. And I think that this is a really sort of intricate area. And I know that as we are evolving with terminologies, with labels, with corrections, like one person's version of something might not actually kind of fall in line with another person's version of things. For example, a really great one, I saw a tweet which was like, hey, when you're talking about disabled people, can you just use the word disabled, not able impaired or not, like all these other words? Because I think that we are trying to overcompensate or, terminology is changing so quickly. But that one really struck out to me because I think we are almost like tiptoeing over or trying to learn, or the adaptations of language is happening so fast that we're like, oh, which one is it? I want to be the most sensitive. And with that one, I thought it was really cool because they're like, hey, we're disabled. Just say it. That's what it is. That's how it goes. And I'm also wondering what kind of blanket effect that has. So Stephen has brought up sort of like baiting, and baiting is a terminology where it's like you will have a suggestion of a same-sex relationship, or where they'll sort of like tiptoe into a same-sex relationship for a plot device in a bid to kind of appease the community. And I think, that was a bit of a question. There's the same way of saying, was this to fill a quota, or is this a checklist, or, did it feel natural or unnatural? And baiting can be when straight people kind of like, who was it? I think that Taylor Swift got a lot of shit for baiting, where she was super in support of the LGBTQ and was like, doing photo shoots with the flag. And they were saying that you're trying to kind of like, Taylor was trying to appease her LGBTQ audience in a queer baiting kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, kissing girls is fun. Or like, I don't know if that's what Taylor said, but that's sort of like what the terminology is all about. So to navigate that is really hard when there's not a blanket rule, because some people could be like, I'm all for exploring your sexuality and, normalizing this and having, by curiosity is something that's really proactive. But then other people could be like, no, you're literally using two straight actors in a bid to cash in or into glorify or exploit this particular thing, which needs to be handled with care. So that's a really interesting question. I think because it was prefaced that Nina was bisexual, that this isn't sort of like a latent discovery. But at the same time, there are people in real life that have spent their whole lives thinking they are straight, only to realize that, hey, you don't have to be defined by a particular label. So it's a tricky one to navigate, not one that I am an expert in talking on. So I'm in a position where I get to listen and learn. So I will continue to listen and learn on the things and have open discussions with a variety of different people, which is how we learn. Did I answer your question? Probably not at all. Glassdagger, enjoyed the gift sub. Welcome to the Maude squad. Miss Necromancer's in the chat. Hey. Kate says, I'm really enjoying the Shuhan stuff, and it's definitely not baiting. Yeah, agree. because it's also, it's not being done in a disingenuous way. These are actual feelings that Nina has, and she's not trying to excite or entice anyone or anything. She's literally just having these feelings, and we are listening to them in like a third person way. Yeah. Okay, I think we're all on the same page with that one. So, says Stephen, is it in there for the sake of being in there, or was it earned? It sounds like they hinted that she might be bi for a while. It's not in there for the sake of being in there. This is a big part of her character. So I think we're all on the same page. It's not baiting. It's very genuine. It's an enriching part of the story. She does have a history with falling in love with the man of her dreams, only for him to die in her arms. And she's undercover, and the feelings are rife. I absolutely understand a lot of it. There you go. STS says, I feel like that about gender issues. Like when I see a group of people stating their pronouns when they are all binary, I always see it like a show-off thing more than a support thing. STS, that's a really great point to bring up as well, why people sort of use their pronouns. It is done to normalize the fact. It's if everyone kind of announces their pronouns instead of only leaving it to the person, whose pronouns may prompt a discussion, that means that we're not focusing and putting a highlight. And it's a great example is in bringing it back to the book. Hannah has shaved her head, and they're like, do I address it? This is a very unusual look. Is this a fashion statement? And instead of sort of only kind of focusing on the people that seem like their pronouns would not be obvious or would require sort of being asked, instead of like making that the deal, we're all just doing it, to normalize it, and so that we can show support in that way. I think because it's new, it's like we're all learning and we're all figuring it out. But every time I'm in a meeting, I will have in my Zoom call she, her. It's a very common thing. Not everyone is doing it. But I do appreciate social media sites like Instagram being able to provide that function for it. So there you go. Bad Boy KS says, I don't know what you say. I think that's a lyric to a song, which I'm not going near. Avery says it's always, I've always seen it as trying to normalize people asking for their pronouns, so people who use different pronouns don't feel uncomfortable stating them. That is the most eloquent way to say what I attempted to. So thank you for that. Game Wizard says that she, Nina, has these feelings, but Nina's focused on her mission. Sure, she tries to have a little fun and enjoyment, but not at the expense of her goal. You're exactly right, Aaron. There is way too much at stake for this one. Kate says, we've got pronouns on our name tags at my work. We've gotten a lot of compliments from NB folks, which is fantastic. And NB stands for, you can write it ENBY. It stands for NB, the letters, which is non-binary. STS, I do get it why it's done. It just strikes me as pandering sometimes. Hey, this is like the fact that people tried to weaponize social justice warrior. If it's like, if that's the negative, great, we'll take it. Like, if pandering's the worst thing that's coming out of this, fantastic. It's not offensive. It's trying to help. And I don't see pandering I think pandering is only being helpful or supportive without authenticity. So let's just be authentic when we do it. Alrighty, so let's talk about the beginning of the book. We are introduced to Queen Mackay and the fact that there's a blight. The blight is basically popping up in different regions for different different areas. Kate, can you explain that one to me? I know that you're not in the book club chat. Concern trolling is real. I don't understand that. I think I need a little bit of help with it. Concern trolling is real, especially in the queer community. Concern trolling. Anyway, I'll wait for that response. We also learned that Queen Mackay's daughter is killed in the blight. So this is a woman who's already incredibly severe and agitated and aggravated and tyrannical. And now she's lost something that's really important to her. She is on a path of destruction. It was her niece, not her daughter. It was her niece. Got it. She's mad. Um, who? What's my question? What did we think of Queen Mackay? What do we think of the Queen of the Shuhans? The matriarchy that we've discovered, where the women lead. We've also discovered that she will never marry. She can take as many lovers as she wants, and the heirs don't have a rightful sort of father in that sense, so that they cannot claim to be the king. And then the sisters, so the princesses, are married off for alliances. But do you think, because like Shuhans had like a little bit of a rap being the more barbaric country, and then also being sort of based on what we feel is like, you know, the Chinese dynasty, the fact that it's a matriarchy, is this better or worse?
I feel that that the Shuhans are, or rather, the Queen is very similar to Queen of Elizabeth of England. How she was very like stoic. She was very to the point, matter of fact. You know, she didn't really want anything to do with anything. Now, I'm not a history major, but I know that Queen Elizabeth went through a lot of stuff that made her a tough woman. So maybe the same things with this queen. I don't know. I don't know if that's what she got the information for. But like, given the situation that they grow up in, because everyone grows up in different circumstances, that it changes how you view the world and how you interact with people. So, you know, that's just my opinion. And I feel like that they're not really barbaric. I think that they're just more like natural. You know, like they just live the way that they live. You know, it's not too complicated in my point of view. You know what I mean?
I feel like how the Shu have been depicted has like altered a little bit throughout the books. I think initially, they had a sense of it being a little bit more barbaric, and now it's like, now that we're kind of getting into the policies, we're learning about the Taban, we're learning about the matriarchy. Like I feel like Shuhan has really thrived, like has really we've got a lot more clarity on what this place looks and feels like, which I don't think we initially had earlier. It was just like, that is a bad place and that's a bad place, you know. So I like that. Has anyone else got thoughts on Shuhan? I know that Kate's in the chat. I really like the Shuhan stuff. I feel like it would be more an analog to Chinese dynasty intrigue than English court. Yeah. I care more about the Shuhan court stuff than I do about the Ravkan court intrigue, to be honest. Yeah. The way that the Taban, so the Taban are the guards that guard the queen and take the queen's orders above all else, no matter what. And if the queen says, light yourself on fire, they take out their orders in that particular way. And they are some of the highest trained guards, and in that, because of that, assassins that are out there. Really fascinating stuff. I really love the fact that seeing this matriarchy unfold, but then also seeing the dichotomy between Queen Mackay and Princess Aerie, and how they're so different. One wants to lead with a very heavy hand, brutality, creating super soldiers, very little compassion, wants war. And then the other one is just absolutely adored, is very, very sweet, is a pacifist. So seeing that dynamic and difference, where the queen mother, who's incredibly, it sounds like the drow. Yes, STS. Yes, it does. But there is the Princess Aerie in here is very, very kind and very naive, and she is a pawn on the chess game and doesn't even realize it. The world building is so much more developed in this book. Yes, clever girl. Before, we would just hear about these different races like the Zemini and the Kerch and the, and it was sort of like places that people were from. But now we're really, really understanding their purpose, their different ways of ruling, their hierarchies. I agree. And I think I would much rather learn about this than learn about the saints and Gregory. The cartographer says, I think a lot of the barbarisms comes from the way they fight, which is mostly what the outside world sees, rather than the true understanding of the Shu culture. This does echo the West's historic perspectives with the East. Hey, that's really well said as well. Yeah. I'm liking this book, but I still hate everything to do with bringing the Darkling back. All right, that's our next discussion. The Darkling's back. He has gone into Uranthol's, whatever. Sounds like a body part. Yuri's body, but he hasn't got his powers. He's obviously in charge of the blights erupting around all of the world. Could this book or this duology have succeeded without the Darkling? Who wants to talk about that? Did the Darkling need to come back? What would this look like if he didn't come back? Was it a necessary thing? How could it have been done better? Darkling's the ultimate troll.
I don't know how much I can comment on how I feel about that until we read the rest of the book.
Okay. Let's go back then. Was King of Scars all just to set up the return of the Darkling?
I want to chime in on that.
Go for it.
I kind of feel overall Darkling's whole return and just him in general so far in this first half of the book kind of unnecessary, because he feels like first series, obviously he's the main threat. He's the driving force behind everything. The fold being created, he's got to be stopped because he's just wanting to expand and just obviously bad. Here it's like, you're already dealt with, dude. Why are you still here? It's like, just leave.
Yeah.
But I feel like King of Scars, though, like at least a good another look at the idea behind Grisha in general. Like, you find out, oh, Grisha today are hobbled. Like, they were held back. Like, they are so much more powerful. Like, every single Grisha could do far more than what they're already capable of. Like, they're at level 1.
They got watered down.
Power-wise, like, what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And they're basically, like, being told, oh, you could all be avatars. You don't have to be firebenders or waterbenders. You could all be avatars. You just don't realize it.
Is it fair to say that in the first trilogy... Thank you so much for the follow. It's covered up and it's 9 screens open, but let me just say who that was. Neeks 2890. Thanks so much for the follow. We're chatting books at the moment. Rule of Wolves. So Shadow and Bone main antagonist is the Darkling. Scary, brooding. He's how old? Whoa, look at all this power. Shadow Man. Ooh. And then we got the next sort of bad guys, which was, Jarl Brum and Fjorda as a whole. And then Merchant. God, what's his face's dad? Yeah, that's a couple of books ago already. Ugh, what's his name? Anyone? Why? Van Eck. Thank you, clever girl. Thanks, Colleen. Yeah, Van Eck. Pekka Rollins. Yes. And these were like sort of mafia, like head bosses and people that would just want to destroy you and bury you. And then I feel like because of this fantastical nature of King of Scars, our last antagonist was this like immortal saint who had all these like frightening superpowers. And I feel like we've gone all over the place with all of those. But then when you introduce sort of Queen Mackay, I'm like, cool. I like her as an antagonist because this is literally talking about manipulating war, and she seems very unhinged. So to kind of go back after all of those antagonists and all of that sort of venture and all of that growth or whatever it is, to go back to the beginning when we've already seen something more spectacular and more personal. You're right. It's like we've done this. We really moved on from it. I feel like it really unravels and it takes a lot of the weight out of the end of the Shadow and Bone trilogy. But I'd love to hear from everyone else. Do you also think that, Aaron said it quite aptly, where it's kind of like, stop trying to make fetch work, Gretchen. It's sort of in that vein. But does anyone have any thoughts on Darkling? Because Miss Necromancer is just like, nah. And if we need a second, I'll read out Kate's comment. The Darkling, to me, is just the personification of a super problematic trope of YA, where the emotionally manipulative villain is loved by the teenage girl fans, who would be the victims of this type of person because he's hot and misunderstood in a way that the main character is the only one who can see his goodness. Just let that trope fucking die and take the Darkling with it. Yeah.
I think Miss Necromancer pretty much tied it up with a nice little bow there.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Aaron says, I feel like the Darkling is trying to make himself feel relevant in a world that is desperately trying to move on because the world doesn't need him anymore. Yeah, but the reader doesn't either. Ah! Colleen?
Yeah, I agree that we don't need the Darkling in this. It seems really contrived to me, but I'm really fascinated with some of the parallels. Like the Shuhan Queen took over because she felt like, no, we have to have someone who is powerful and willing to do whatever it takes for our country. And the Darkling had the same feeling for the Grisha. Jarl Broom has that feeling, that attitude. And I think, is that Elizabetta?
Elizabetta.
The Saint.
Yep.
Yeah. She had, well, and I think a couple of times it's come out that, Nikolai's a good man, but is that really what you need in a ruler? And so I see a lot of these parallels.
I just saw my spelling correction in the doc from
I don't know if that's making my...
No, I actually wanted to add on that. I just saw you corrected my spelling in the doc because I wrote it in my phone, and you're always correct to tour. Ugh, but thank you. I thought that was really... I want to add on to that with one more.
Grammarly.
Oh, I'm a grammar fiend, so that's why I appreciated it. But to go even one further on that, that's what Juris saw in Zoya, where he was like, Nikolai is not ruthless enough to rule. And you're right. People in the positions of power are the kind of people who will do whatever it takes. And the fact that the Shuhan have that saying where it's like, don't put your heart into it, or like at the cost of your heart or something like that. And that's what they kind of like, that mentality where it's like, suck it up. There's something bigger than this. This isn't about us as an individual. This is about sort of like, that greater good complex. So yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying with that. I just think that there's been so many more layered and interesting different types of antagonists to start going back to that kind of trope. And I'm just like racking my brain to think of the other YA books or big major properties that really focus on this like misunderstood guy, and you can't see it, but I can change him and I'll be the one to save him and make him a good person. Because it absolutely has trickled over into relationships where, people who are a little bit more susceptible to attracting abusers will stay because they think that they can be the one that will change them. But they literally are walking in the line of fire and not really realizing it until they've been shot quite a few times. Nikolai's demon inside, as a final remnant of him, is enough tie to him. I like that. Do you agree with Aaron that the only remaining part of the Darkling should just be this demon? Because what they ended up doing, and I didn't like this about the end of the last book, the whole purpose was to separate Nikolai and this demon that belonged to the shadows. And then they did this entire, it was all about finding the ritual. And then they undertook the ritual and it was like, nah, I guess it's just in you, bud. And now he's able to kind of control it a little bit more because they realize it's actually not a part of the Darkling, it's a part of himself. It doesn't really make sense. I'm not really behind that. I kind of wish it's exactly how you said it would be, Aaron. But I'd be interested to hear from other people. Do you think that the shadow within Nikolai should be the only part of the Darkling that we're dealing with?
The shadow part within Nikolai, I don't think that should be the only part that they were dealing with, because like I know that the Darkling is not like the most appreciated of a character, but he does have layers, like he does in the beginning pretend to be more humanistic and tries to be more appealing, but as you know, as the story prevails, he just becomes more and more of a monster. So I think it just be a whole multiple thing, like more delving if necessary.
And then Kate brings up a really good point as well, going, that's kind of redundant because that's exactly what Zoya's going through with Duras, the dragon, as well. Okay, that's interesting. We can't. Was everyone excited to have Alina and Mal like revisit them? What was that like, having them back in the book and back in the series? Because we heard like they were absolutely done at the end of Shadow and Bone trilogy. It was like, we want the simple life. We are opting out. See you later. What was it like having them back in after all that's transpired? Avery, we haven't heard from you. Oh, Colleen.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I got the feeling that with some of this, she was just trying to bring back some favorite characters and, kind of keep people hooked. It's nice to connect the books with characters, but some of it feels a little contrived.
Okay. Yeah. Everyone's kind of weighing in different things. Kate just goes, meh. Aaron says, I like that they're back, but I'm glad it's like a cameo type showing. Kate says, I felt like their story was done and ended nicely, so it felt like a cameo on a failing TV show of an actor that used to be there. Ooh. Lisa says it's a little bit of pandering, I think, bringing back the Darkling and Alina and Mal. Yeah, but loving the fact that Onkat's back as well. Avery, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what Colleen said, that it was just kind of like a weird sort of connection. I still enjoyed seeing them and kind of seeing what they were up to, but like, I don't know, when Alina and the Darkling started having the exact same argument, and Mal even said, like, you're having the exact same argument, it made it seem kind of like, I don't know, forced.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my main argument in the last book was that they didn't tell Alina what was going on because it seemed like something that would concern her.
Yes.
But then they bring her back for just this scene, just to talk to the Darkling, have the same argument she had with him, and then he gets his powers back and she disappears. It just seems, I don't know. I feel like if they're going to bring her back, they should have used her more.
Got it. But then, yes and no, because it's like, I don't know. It's interesting seeing how she really does not have any powers at all, and all the sun soldiers around her don't even know that that's Alina, the Sun Saint. But sort of hearing Duras's, the dragon's opinion on Alina, going, wow, she lost everything and she's actually gained boldness from that. I liked that commentary on the situation. Alina and Mal are a MacGuffin. They are just there to move the plot point forward to give the Darkling his powers back. Do you think that this is the last we're going to see of those two then? Aaron and Michelle are weighing in on this. Yes, Aaron, I'd love to hear more about it.
I kind of think so. I don't think we've probably seen the last of Alina or Mal. And I don't think this will happen. Other people who probably read the full book probably already know, but I really hope they don't give Alina her powers back. I hope, because that would be the only way to kind of stop it, is somehow give her powers back just so she can stop the Darkling again, only this time make sure it's permanent, or possibly even just finally they both just literally kill each other to stop each other. That's my only prediction, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, it feels like it's heading there, huh?
Yeah, because it's it feels like Leigh Bardugo kind of wrote herself into a corner there. It's like, I brought him back. Oh crap, I got to bring Alina back because that's the only way he's probably going to get his powers back. And now they probably have to kill each other in this final thing. That has nothing to do with the actual overall conflict with Nikolai, the three countries fighting. Nina's whole thing in Fjerda. It's like, how is this all tying together with this? Like, why are we still here?
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like the story wants to go so much further down, like, because we've made so much progress. Like, we're really going into new territory, and then it's like it's anchoring us back at that particular place.
It's kind of like somebody's like trying to defuse a bomb, and you only have so much time. But then somebody's calling on your phone who just has no idea what's going on. It's like, I need to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. Really, right now?
Yes, it does feel a little bit like that. Michelle's got a really good idea of how Alina and Mal could have been used. Michelle, do we want to try and see if the mic's working again? Because I'd really love to hear that suggestion about being sages.
Is it better?
It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like there's that gap with who's the old woman? The Darkling's mother.
Bagra.
Bagra?
Yeah.
Bagra. I feel like she's gone, so there's like a void for someone who's a little bit more, I don't know, intellectually stable. I don't know, or you know, at in their life where they're like, this is what I want, these are my wisdoms, and I feel like Mal and Alina are there to like fill that role. They had their adventure, they're done with it, and they're here to like support the other people.
Yeah, because I feel like it's all kind of on Zoya being the general, but she is, you know, sort of not only Nikolai's confidant, babysitter, shoulder, but she's trying to lead the general and the Second Army as a general, whilst also being the political point of contact, having these discussions in Nikolai's stead when he can't be there. You're right. I feel like if there was anything, a really great example of that was when the termite, Nina, gets word that Fjerda is moving forward in the war, that it's someone like Mal who's suggesting that these mines are getting made so that they can plant the mines throughout the night, which stops them. That would actually give it a lot more weight and purpose for me, that he is still providing such valuable information and strategy to help Ravka. You know, I feel like it is a little bit of a cop-out that it's like, we're here for the children. It's like, what? Like, yeah, I don't know. I still get a little bit disgruntled that when you have that much power and responsibility that you just get to opt out, and your friends that have been fighting your fight stay in that fight and need you, or need, you know, they need all hands on deck kind of thing. You're just like, nah, good luck with it. I believe in you. You got this. Like, this is war, you know?
We just need to pivot to the Yoda role. Still with the youngins and whatever, but they just, you know, but there, you know.
100% agree. And it was the Bagra role. It was the Anna Kuya sort of character where instead of, you know, them being defined by that with their childhood, they were able to sort of change that role and elevate the children with it. But I did like the fact that they're expanding and talking about the fact that Talia brought it up, where they were like, oh, it's so bad what's happening with the Kurgud. You're getting experimented on. They're becoming soldiers. And Talia's like, yeah, the Grisha in Ravka would take children away from their families to raise them to become soldiers in an army. And you're like, yeah, that's pretty messed up. So I like seeing, like, you know, oh, that's so evil. It's like, it's actually just a different version of what you're doing. Oh, okay. I liked that perspective on all of it. Yes, Colleen, there were so many sacrifices to allow them to just disappear. Yeah, it's just not what I would have done. And the fact that already Michelle's guy has a great idea where it's like, this is what they could have done and it would have added. And I'm like, yes, agree. I do think because it sounded like it was just going to be a trilogy. And I agree with Kate where it's like, you had your happy ending. You tied it in a bow. It was all good. But now you're having to kind of like go back on that because it does keep expanding in that particular way. Aaron added to that going, yes, it would make all that they dealt with become meaningless by bringing the Darkling back and then force them to have to solve the problem again. Yeah. And I don't know, every time I see or like compare it to the Six of Crows duology, Six of Crows every time. All right, so let's talk about Zoya. Zoya in this book. I feel like this was Operation Make Maude Like Zoya, and we're getting there. She is an incredibly capable woman, and I kind of love the fact that this is someone who is very brutal, very sharp, very demanding. You know, would you call her assertive? No, she's a woman. She's aggressive. Would you call her a boss? No, you'd call her a ball buster, you know. But the fact that she is a woman in this position of power, and even though she's a bit of a nightmare and not gentle or not soft or not accommodating for egos or patriarchy, everyone is just saying how capable she is. And I'm liking that. I'm liking that her gender isn't, you know, she isn't some, you know, whatever woman in a position of power that's good at their job. There's always a negative spin on it. And I'm loving that there isn't, that she's just good at her job. Avery, great comment. I love how much Zoya cares about Nina, which is so interesting because she would yell at Nina and belittle Nina and reprimand Nina all the time. And I think Zoya is the perfect example of just because you think it doesn't mean everyone knows it. You have to articulate your feelings and appreciation and, you know, that you care before they get sent off undercover and you might not ever see them again. Kate says, I love how she was just like, listen, brah, to Kirigan when he was like, oh, but I love you, Zoya. That moment where she was trying, he's like, oh, but I think that if I can just, and she's like, let me say what you want. You want us to get to know each other and have a really big, deep and meaningful, so you really get to know the real me here. You got it. This is the real me. That whatever narrative you keep spinning is not what's going to happen. And he's like, yep, okay, so I'm hearing no, but I'm not actually going to hear no. And so she's like, I will kick your ass. I will physically hurt you if you keep doing this. Put him down. But that's what needs to happen because guys don't, you know, sometimes. Some guys, you know what I mean. I have a theory that Zoya and Nina team up to use the Darkling for their benefit. What? Jimmy, hit me with that one.
I was just thinking before. Again, this is just me just thinking in my mind, you know, like going out there. But I was thinking, you know, like how like Nina, you know, has her certain abilities, you know, her spy abilities, and she can control the dead. And Zoya is an army sergeant or whatever, and a squalor, right?
Yep.
So if they combine their powers together, they could like maybe, again, this is spitballing. Maybe if they found like an item similar to like the mythical beasts, you know, or something like that, where they could, in effect, like take in the Darkling's power away from him. You know, and kind of like manifest it into their own body. And then like Zoya could then, with this massive amount of Darkling powers, she could resurrect Nikolai.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
And bring him back from the dead. And then Zoya could, you know, right any wrong that she may have had because they have stolen this power from the Darkling. You know, like I think that would be an interesting take. Again, I don't think it's going to be in the book, but that's just my thoughts on it.
You know what? There's potential, and that's what we're exploring with future. Because apparently, Avery, is it true that there's going to be new books from Alina's perspective after this? Is that what you were talking about earlier?
No, I just have a theory regarding Alina in future books. She hasn't actually announced anything except for the third Six of Crows book. It's just me having thoughts, but I'll.
There is a third Six of Crows book? Oh my God, we're going to get the relationship between. Oh, I've forgotten their names. Kaz Brecker and.
Nej.
Thank you. We're going to get that relationship. I am down for more Six of Crows. Hey, Aaron, I want to jump on and I want to hear your thoughts about Zoya being her own blockage. She's the one holding herself back. That was a really great comment, and I'd love to explore that.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit towards the end of this first half that she keeps hearing like Juris and possibly even like the dragon itself, like kind of whispering in her head, kind of like commenting. Like it's kind of like a weird juxtaposition compared to Nikolai, who is constantly hearing the demon inside him talk, but also trying to wrestle control. And it seems like with her, the dragons are only just offering advice, like saying, "Hey, you could do more. Like all you have to do is just let it happen." They're not trying to wrestle control. They know she's in charge, but they're just like, and me as a reader is like, why are you holding yourself back? Before this whole thing with the dragon and Juris, you were willing to like, do everything you can to be the most powerful, most badass version of yourself. You already thought you were the best. Now you're even more with this power boost, but you're not like leaning into it. Like, I just don't know why she.
Is she kind of respecting the fact that she's a general of the army and doesn't want to supersede the king? She's basically laid it out
Possibly.
to Nikolai, I serve you. And he was like, ugh, I don't like that word. And she's like, but that's what's happening here. You are my king and I serve you.
Oh.
So I'm wondering if she's not kind of like going ham with these powers to respect that dynamic. Because
I also.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, because Nikolai, the way he wants her the most is like in that nurturing state. Like when he's vulnerable, he needs her in that emotional way and that nurturing way. That's how he needs her, not to be some destructive, insane, offensive, magic kind of weapon.
Yeah, I can see. Well, I don't see her as like trying to like supersede Nikolai. It's like she's kind of made her point like really clear. Like she enjoys her position as somebody who can serve Nikolai. Like she knows, like, because she even said it herself, like, you're the king I chose. Like, I don't want to serve the Darkling. I don't want to serve these people. You're the one I want to fight with. Also, I think the fact that she's also in love with him and isn't willing to admit, or at least, try to move forward with her feelings because she knows politically it's quite inconvenient, but she still hates the situation she's in, which makes for great drama.
Yeah. When she throws back the whiskeys, and she's like, right. I gotta go.
Yeah. But I think more in the lines of she is far more capable of doing things like, from fighting in any battle to she basically knows she could do more, not even just in destructive capabilities, but just in general with her powers. And she could also she hasn't even told other people hey, I learned from these saints, we all could be more. She could help in some weird way guide other Grisha from Jenya, David, everybody, saying, hey,
untap their powers. Yeah.
Exactly. Unlock their potential. I mean, look at Nina. She went from being able to heal people, now she can do things with the dead. It's clear that you're not shoehorned into only this one set of abilities. You are capable of so much more.
Yeah, I get you on that.
And Kalina's, and the other thing I was wanting to lead to, she's also afraid probably because hey, will I lose myself with this?
Yeah, because she has always her relationship with power is that power protects me. Pailang's just come in here, said, aren't you from Nerdist? Maude, yeah, and then got gifted a sub by STS and then followed. Oh, what an amazing little journey there. Zoya's previous relationship with power, or current relationship with power, is that power has protected her. The more power she's had, the more she's been able to kind of survive, especially given her past. There is something about this that you're right. We are seeing that she is trusting and leaning into David and Jenya and the people of the palace more and more, instead of just being a lone wolf, which I believe someone mentioned earlier in the comments, that she is building trust and able to confide and rely and depend on others instead of just getting the job done herself. There's another part in there. Oh, Trisco and Chris just dropping some bits. Thank you so much for that. I also love the fact that I'm going to move the alert box because we are not seeing that when it pops up. The Darkling. So when they had that little showdown and she summoned some lightning and the storm rolled in, the Darkling had this look where he was truly a little bit scared of her. So I think that it's starting to come out that way. And I'm really interested about the second half of the book of her just, really leaning into these new powers, her new, the new relationships that she's having. But yeah, unleash the dragon because I trust Duress. Duress surrendered himself to her. So you're exactly right. The relationship that Nikolai has with the demon, it is unwanted and it's a battle for control. Whereas Duress is like, white flag, I'm your sensei. I will teach you. Like, listen to me and we can do great things together. So that's really cool. Miss Necromancer said she's afraid of a lot of things. A lot of people who are super strong outwardly are that way because they are building armor. She is terrified to let someone in again after what happened with her aunt. Oh, yeah. And then Chris said, this is a good talk with some deep part. Best kind of book talk. Hell yeah. Aaron says, also her becoming a dragon herself is probably what will stop the Darkling, given her level of power. Yes. I think if anyone's going to take on the Darkling, it's not actually going to be Alina getting her powers back. It's going to be Zoya tapping into her newfound power. Hi, Colleen.
Yeah, this part kind of reminded me of when Cora had been poisoned and was so afraid that she was actually blocking herself in the Legend of Korra. It just seemed like she'd cut herself off, and I just get the feeling that Zoya this is so new and so strange that she's really pretty afraid of it.
Yeah.
I also, you were saying about Nikolai needing her in that nurturing position. Maybe, but I think he also appreciates her as his general and knows that she's capable of things that he can't do.
Well,
I feel like.
No, I was going to add to that because their personalities are so contrasting. They both have walls up. Massive walls. Hers is her sharp ice coldness. His is his charismatic, quippy nature. And they are absolutely opposite, but they are both doing the exact same job. And that is a wall to cope, to hide behind, to not let people in, it's a mask. And so I think that that's a really interesting thing. Also, Colleen, I do want to point out, making a Korra reference here, thank you. You are with your people. And it was very well appreciated. So that was a good analogy in comparison. Yay. They both lean on each other and feel more themselves in each other's company when they're alone. Yes, and we've seen those walls coming down. Nikolai had only really done that with Alina before because he just instantly felt like he could trust her and he was really vulnerable with her. For a long time, she was the only one that knew that he was actually a bastard. And that had been a massive secret. Nina's only just found out because she met his dad. Like, that's not the king. So that was like a big secret that he had. Zoya's been carrying a big secret, which is I can't even trust my family because there's different types of power and I was not a priority. So yeah, they were both holding on these really, really big secrets and they trust each other. If Nikolai's in pain when he's getting his skin taken off and re-put back on, the first person he wants and calls for is his general, and I think they're building something super, super strong, and it makes a little bit more sense because she's here going, here's the king, I'm not, I'm Grisha, we'll never be. Like, I am not an option. I had to help prepare what the options were, and my name would never be on that list. Now she's a saint. And he proposed to a saint already. Just saying. She's a saint by propaganda, but now she's literally got like a saint imbued inside of her. So she's in that sainthood biz. If that becomes public knowledge, I think they're going to end at the end. But have I Googled and have I seen fan art of them together? Yes. So do I know? No. But is it likely? Probably. I don't know though. Avery, I was so nervous when I first saw them being put together because both Nikolai and Zoya have such strong personalities, and their strong personalities actually complement each other. It was a lot in the first book. I'll be real. I felt that sharp scorpion tail sting with that, haha, I'm just going to laugh at everything. I was like, can we just have a breather? But at the same time, Alina, no personality with Mal, no personality. I will protect you. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Does Alina and Mal have a personality? I liked Mal. I was one of the few that did, but I liked Mal. But Alina was just so unsure of herself the entire time and was so malleable. Malleable. Yeah, that was a self-fulfilling prophecy. And needed to be told what to do and was so ripe for manipulation. But Mal was a rock. He was really sturdy. He tried to do the right thing even though it was not what he wanted to do at all. I miss Mal, I think. Damn. I'm like waiting for Kate to chew me out, being like, are you kidding? I am so not Team Darkling, though. And I'm, going back to your YA trope description, Kate. Yeah. We should not be enabling or celebrating the fact that people have a crush on a very dangerous characteristic. You can't change him. You can't change them. If they keep showing you who they are, believe them. It's fine. Mal is white bread. I knew it. I knew I was going to get something. Oh, man. My camera's betraying me right now. Beep, beep. That's better. Mal's white bread, but he's better than an abusive shithead. Last time we did Fuck, Marry, Kill Darkling, I think I did. I chose Marry Mal and to stoink Nikolai. I think that still stands. Would Nikolai be good though, or would he be performing the whole time? He'd make a joke, I don't know. I'm thinking too much about this. They're fictional characters, Maude. Ugh. Avery, I love the Darkling as a villain, not as a love interest. Yeah, I mean, he's a villain because he's shit. Yeah. STS, does the other way work? I don't think there's a bad girl trope. An Emma Frost type, perhaps. There's a trope that I don't love, but it's always like, you can be, as a woman, you can be absolutely horrible, but as soon as we find out a reason for it and that you will start behaving well and being slightly better, then all is forgiven. I really struggle. There's 2 books. It's Zoya in this series, and it was Ness. What's her name? Nesta. And like Lisa gives me hell about it. And Kate gives me hell about it, where it's like, hey, Nesta's not bad. And I'm like, she decided to be absolutely awful and made a decision to take her anger and frustration out on everyone around her. So that's a trope. That's what Zoya's technically been doing this entire time. But now we're getting in her mindset and she's evolving a little bit more. But like if someone in that book was instead of worshipping the ground that she walked on and pedestaling her, turned around and said, I don't like Zoya. I don't have anything to do with her. She's actually really awful. I think that kind of consequence does need to exist in this world. That's all. Good luck with your internet, Kate. Sorry that your internet, it's being awful. Clever Girl says, there's an episode of the IT Crowd where Chris O'Dowd's character sets out to prove that women only love bastards. Is this too obscure of a reference? Well, I mean, the fact that Nikolai is a bastard. But I hear what you're saying, that women love the bad guy. Not this one. I do not take BS from dudes, and I would rather be single for a very long time than have a guy think that he can treat me like a piece of shit. And I'm looking for the nice guy. I want a nice guy. Give me that white bread, baby. Rebecca from Ted Lasso is an interesting exploration of the Ice Queen trope. Oh, man, I had the disc of that and I forgot it. I really want to watch Ted Lasso. So bad, Ted Lasso, so bad. Alrighty, so Nikolai, Zoya, how are we liking Nikolai's progression? He's got the demon under control, which is a pretty cool thing. Do we like that? The fact that he's kind of in control of this demon and he's actually using it to tell Fjorda, yeah, the king of demons, the king demon is going to come and kill you. Yay? Is that exciting?
I think it's pretty cool
Yeah.
because, you know, like if anyone had that kind of power anyway, it would just be like, you know what? I got up on the wrong side of the bed today and I just scare people, you know, like not necessarily injure them, just put them in their place. Kind of like Marty McFly in Teen Wolf. If you remember that movie where he's like, I need a keg of beer. And then he yells at the guy and he goes, give me a keg of beer. It's very similar to that scene. That's what I like about that. I know that may not be the best reference, but it's certainly how I feel about the situation.
I think that Nikolai's biggest concern as a leader of a country is his legitimacy. And he has been listening to this rumor spread. I mean, even the townsfolk where they were just like, we don't give a shit about you. You're a bastard. And he's just like, Fjorda wants you to think that. And they want that to be the reason that you don't trust me and our country falls apart. And I was like, that was a smart lie. Now he's like, you think bastard's gonna be a problem? I'm a legit demon. Like, being a bastard's the least of your problems. I kind of like that. I think that was a fun one because he was just so plagued by having to hold on to all these secrets about who he is, and he's just like, no, I'm not gonna hide it anymore. And I like that. I thought that was really cool. Are you liking Nikolai more as a character in this book in comparison to the last one? Anyone? Let's get the tea on Nikolai. Anyone? Nikolai. I'll read what he got up to. Relationship with Princess Eri. He's trying to convince her to marry him for the sake of the war. They're going to be a terrible match. Ugh. Nikolai suspects the dragon is in Nina. How he kind of handled going in the front row a lot of the time during war. He's in the front lines. He's very hands-on as a king. His feelings changing towards Zoya. The fact that it was leading into Nikolai marrying Princess Eri, but that wasn't the case at all. It was all smoke and mirrors for the reader. What did we think about that? Did you see that coming?
I initially almost thought it was kind of the same from the previous book, but after that whole bit of, you know, putting on the show wedding with Genya and David, and it's like, oh, by the way, your sister's back home now, and she's gonna take your throne if you don't play nice. Like, he's gotten a little bit more devious. Like, he's willing to play into the pirate privateer side of his personality rather than try to be the nice, wise king. It's like, all right, you want to play mean, I will play mean. And then he's up in a plane willing to scare the crap out of pilots. And I am kind of confused, though. Did he actually, like, jump out of the plane and be the demon, or did he just, like, astral project the demon inside him? I don't really know how that worked.
Oh, I thought he actually transformed and gave his body to the demon, so the demon was in charge of him. But they can split so that he can be both at once. Yeah, that's not entirely clear, but I thought he was controlling.
Because it implied like he was still in the plane, like it didn't crash, like he looked like he might be, but then he decided, okay, enough of this, go.
Yeah, but was making that decision and talking like. He wasn't able to articulate as the demon, but he was like, yep, this is what we're going to do. And then the interesting part with that is that the demon played nice and came straight back and like integrated back into the body, I guess, without putting up a fight or without trying to be in charge, because he got blood and he got a fight and he was satisfied.
That's what I'm curious for. That's going to lead, like, is the demon going to be demanding more and more to be let out because now he finally has his taste for blood, like human blood? And will that be less about him wanting to turn into himself, like the demon side, and just like now feed that subconsciously into Nikolai, like him make those more demonic actions?
Yeah.
Like, where will one end and begin, kind of thing?
Exactly. Give it an inch, take a mile. Avery.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a really big comment to make. I would love to hear why Nikolai is one of your favorite fictional characters of all time.
couple of things, but I think the main thing is the fact that he feels like he is expected to be a certain way, but like he, as we kind of see in this book, but also when we see like with Sturmhund and everything, that he has a way that like who he actually is, and then how he like expresses himself, and those are like different. But then throughout these books, he's kind of starting to realize that doesn't necessarily have to be different. He is allowed to be himself, and he can still be, you know, the king, and still be Nikolai. And I don't know, I feel like I just like relate to that a bit. Like I feel like who I am like on the inside and who I am like in a public space is not the same all the time, and that I'm starting to like I've been kind of learning how to be more of myself and to accept those parts of me that I always have kind of like kept hidden before. So I don't know.
I love that. I love that a lot. Nikolai was a little bit of a people pleaser before. He was living in his brother's shadow, flying under the radar, adopting different roles, wearing a lot of masks. Hello, Bunny Rose Arcade. Thanks for dropping on by. And yes, Thierry, we have got like a Venom sort of situation there as well. I feel like we're spoiling this entire book for you, but there you go. I love that you are relating to someone like Nikolai. I think for me, it's like using humor as a wall is something that I do from time to time, if it's needed. I really like, God, he's funny. There are like there are lines of dialogue from him that I laugh out loud with, and Nina as well. Actually, Nina when she's talking with Broom and she gives sort of like her inner dialogue, where he's like, oh, I'd love to see you wearing a silk dress and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, I'd love to see your dead body and do a jig on it. You know, like things like, it's very funny dialogue. She's really, really good with that. I just love that you're really digging Nikolai so much. That's perfect for this duology. I've got a bunch of questions that we'll do like a bit of a rapid-ish fire over if we all want to weigh in on them. But these are the questions that I had while reading the first half of the book. You can find it at the end of the doc if you do have the doc open. What do we think about the unfolding war and how the world is divided? Interesting, good build-up, we're liking it, realistic. You can just put yay or nay in the comment as well, and I'll read them all out. What do we think about the unfolding war and how the world is divided? Natural progression. Yeah, this feels like a good progression in the story setup. Cool. What do we think about this? Oh, I kind of asked this before. What do we think about the smoke and mirrors of who's getting married? It was very purposeful in its writing to make it out that it was going to be between Nikolai and Princess Aerie. I guess we were supposed to kind of feel what Queen Mackay felt, that betrayal, that you pulled the wool over our eyes. Was that effective? Did you like that story writing? Were you fooled? Loved it. Perfect Nikolai move. Yes, the war has been accelerating for some time. Great feedback, everyone. Oh, hello, Stephen. Bunny Rose Arcade, huh? Great name. I'm about it. You're sweet for dropping by. We're talking about this book. Yes, it is. It is. You're starting to realize that Nikolai is very, very smart. And another way that he did like this kind of thing was between the Kirch and Zemini. Kirch are like, hey, yeah, cool. We'll give you more money. You won't have to pay back this stupid amount of war funds that are needed. But we want to know about your submarines. They didn't say submarines, underground ships, underwater ships. But it's like, cool. Get us these war submarines, and we'll let you keep borrowing money. And he's like, great, cool. You want to use the submarines so that you have full control over the shipping routes for trade. So we're just going to get the people that use those and give them airships so that everyone wins, and we are building allies and not actually pissing anyone off. That was a really good move as well. Yeah. Give the man enough time to breathe and not stretch his focus. He is the more noble version of Kaz. The scenes between Kaz and Sturmhund in the last Six of Crows, I liked those scenes together. I actually really like that. And I think that if Nikolai ends up needing sort of like a schematist, I want that to be a word. I'm not sure it is, but it would be a really good word. If Zoya does strategist, schematic, yeah, strategist. If Zoya is no longer the general of the army, but having someone like with street smarts like Kaz, I don't think Kaz would want to do it because he wouldn't want to work for anyone. We did the question, what genre would this book be? Feelings about, we did that one as well. Feelings about another round with the Darkling. We're all a bit meh on that. Here we go. Do you think the prince, we haven't really gone too much into Fjorda and Nina's plan, but we're introduced to this character, the Prince Rasmus, who is very sickly, and Hannah keeps wanting to heal him, and they're spending a lot more time together, and they're using the prince to be able to get access to a lot of information to help in their spying. But the prince has been sick for a while, and now that she's healing him, he's getting a lot better. Two things. Turns out the more well the prince gets, the more of a dick he is. Yes, Lisa. So the more that he's not this feeble, awful boy, the more he is sadistic and cruel and violent. Rasmus is a little shit. So, do you think that the prince is being kept sick? It's not Broom, because Broom hates the fact that he's a little weakling. It's not the queen, because the queen's disgusted that that's happening. Do you think that someone is keeping the prince sick? And why is it Joran, his bodyguard? Rasmus is Joffrey. Yeah, it's becoming Joffrey. And you know what we discovered? There's always a worse Joffrey. Ramsay Bolton. Do you think the bodyguard's to blame? What do you think the deal with Joran is? Because we know that Joran is constantly mocked when the prince is feeling well. He's been in the rule for 2 years. He has no emotion, but the prince also says that he can listen to everything. Theories on Joran, if you haven't finished the book, go. Got it? Clever Girl says, can't comment because spoilers.
Okay, so this is my theory. Now, much similar to the Joffrey reference, is that because this child feels entitled, he is a dick. And, like maybe, like you said, Joran is teaching him a life lesson, even though it's very hard learned, that, you have to humble yourself. And when you learn how to humble yourself, then you can better yourself and others. So that's just my theory. He's kind of like giving him a hard love. I know that sounds weird, but that's my theory on it.
I think they're trying to get the prince out of the picture, because when we learned about the Fjordan law, it's the strongest sort of family gets to stay in power, and that bloodline did have a strong, very, very strong warrior sons ruling. And I think that this is a way, like if that's the only sort of thing needed to rule, like this is your alpha male situation, that's the way to get him off the throne. If he's sickly, he's out, and then you put in the person that you actually want sitting on the throne. Joran is a secret twin. I've got no idea, but throwing out the twin who was put aside, or a secret sibling, because we need more soap opera twists. Oh, I like that. Michelle goes, ugh, Rasmus. Yeah. Avery says, I read it before, so no comments from me. I feel like I'm onto something, and I've called a few things. Jasper's Grisha powers, being a good sharpshooter because he actually changes the bullet. There's a few things that I was reading them, like, I called it. So something with Joran. Podge is the new insult. Do we like it? How are we finding Podge? And did you notice? I just noticed every time it's like, oh, you're being a bit of a podge. Podge. I fucking love it. I think I'm going to adopt it into my vernacular. If no one's got any comments on Podge, we'll move on. Does this story feel more contained, more exciting, or more grounded? I feel like we kind of touched upon this. We feel like there's more of a point and purpose in this particular book. We know where it's going. One more time for this question. Any takers? Does this story feel more contained, more exciting, more grounded?
It definitely feels more grounded, I feel.
Yeah, we put the spliff down. Yeah.
Indeed.
Got a little bit cray out there before last time. What do we think about the deaths in the Grishaverse series? Is David dead or just lost? David can't be dead. Is David dead? What's RAFO? What's RAFO? Read and find out. Predictions. I'm hoping lost, but will be found eventually. David can't be dead. David can't be dead. David just figured out spontaneity.
I'll just add in this thing. I already said it before. I really hate how Leigh Bardugo takes away good characters, especially at this moment where David and Genya just had their wedding, or at least their renewal of their vows, because they said that they had eloped. And then it's like, oh, by the way, Genya and David are dancing, and Genya doesn't care that he's like, probably looking at his feet, counting the steps and things like that, and stepping on her feet. She's just happy she's, has this moment with him. And then he's blown up, supposedly.
It's because they're like, no one would be in the workshop or the class at this hour. And I'm like, David would. David has been, he's been doing all-nighters. Of course David's in the workshop after his wedding.
Where else would he be?
Where else would he be? Not making love to his wife on the wedding night. He'd be in the workshop.
He's clearly a workaholic, and she's okay with it.
But David, if he is done, he did have his moment though. And that is, no, I will not keep building things that have exponential dangerous power. Because when I do that, where does it stop? And I did it for the Darkling without questioning it. And I'm responsible for that. I put the collar on Alina and goes, I just am not going to do things that I don't want to be responsible for anymore. David got a backbone. I liked that moment. I liked when David was just like, I can't be your puppet anymore. So that was a good moment. But it also makes me think like, oh, he had his moment before. You know how like sometimes in dialogue or in movies, like the dad's super proud of the son and you're like, dad's going to die of cancer. Like you just kind of see that, yeah, David put his foot down. David is an anime side character that fulfilled his arc and now I need to go. That's, I think, what I'm trying to say, huh? I don't want that. David is single-minded. No, he's getting a lot better with it. He's just so cute with his notes on how to compliment her. In that last book where he pulled out the list that Genya had written on the compliments and he was like flustered because he got something wrong and he's like, but it's not on the list. Precious. We protect David at all costs. Ugh. And he just says, beautiful things as a matter of fact. Oh, I'm just looking at beautiful. I'm looking at beauty. Gorgeous. This is just the first half discussion. Oh, yeah. We had someone new pop by as well, actually. I'd like to say hello to Rob Flo. Rob Flo said, did you all finish the book already? We just read the first half. We were doing the first half this week, which is kind of like the setup, where we think it's going. If we like the world building, what moments and what character arcs are we most interested in? So I guess that's the question I have. It's split up into Nina, Zoya, and Nikolai chapters. Which one's your favorite and which one's your least favorite? They're very, very close for me, but if you had to choose out of your Nikolai chapters, your Zoya chapters, or your Nina chapters, rank them, please. I'm hoping he built a secret workshop room to work in peace. Oh, maybe that would be nice. I like that, Aaron. I want that. Alrighty, rank them. Who wants to go first? Nina, then Zoya, and then Nikolai. All right, Aaron, why?
Nina, because I'm secretly just a big spy thriller nerd, so her whole infiltrating, enemy territory and trying to not get caught and killed because she's had so many close calls because the well mother saying, hi, Nina, and the end chapter is like, you can't leave me here with that. So I'm very excited. Plus, seeing if she does like her necromancer powers in cool ways again. And of course, Zoya, because dragons. And then Nikolai, but not like, oh my god, I don't want him there. It's just in this order because, Nikolai is becoming more interesting because now he's coming to terms with his demon, his literal demon. And I'm interested to see whether he can, find a mutual understanding and keep it in check for positive benefits, even though it scares the crap out of himself and others. Or if he's just going to go full tilt and Zoya's going to have to murder him.
Only because you brought it up with the cliffhanger with Nina. We've found Magnus Opia, Nikolai's father, imprisoned in the Druskeller section, basically off from Broom's office. And
he thought she was going to off him.
I know, and it made sense, and I would have gotten it. That's the worst part. But he's trying to communicate. He's like, I need to get a message to, and she gags him. Who is he trying to get a message to? Who is Nikolai's father trying to get? Nikolai? He's trying to get a message to Nikolai? Who's he trying to get a message to, everyone? Who's he trying to get a message to?
Maybe he's trying.
Oh, go, Lisa.
I was going to say, I can't really remember where it goes towards the end of the book, if it explains that, but I kind of took it as he had to warn Nikolai about the attack from the Fjordans that happened right before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because of the attack that happens. Oh, got it. That's good. Thank you, Lisa. Sprinkle, did you want to add?
She pretty much got it. It's all good.
Yeah. Going down the order, you said Nina, Nikolai, then Zoya. Did you want to add to your reasons why, Sprinkles?
I just think that, Nina being the driving force of this novel, that's why I put her number one. Mm-hmm. I just feel like the whole way that it's going and whatnot, and the Nikolai being number two because he's more in control, he's more sure of himself as opposed to the previous novel that seemed like a reality show.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And Zoya, like you said earlier, being more palatable.
Nice way to say it. Yeah.
Yes.
The cartographer, and Lisa, I believe, agree with Aaron as well, being Nina, then Zoya, then Nikolai. Avery also thinks that it's Nina, Nikolai, then Zoya. Does anyone not have Nina at number one? Everyone likes Nina's chapters the most. That's cool. Colleen?
Nina's chapters stress me out. I get so emotionally involved with the characters that I'm rooting for her, but I just feel really stressed about what's going to happen next.
Yeah, but that's good writing.
Yeah.
Those cliffhangers are good.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. They're all my questions that I had. If you need a little bit of a refresher on what happens in the first half of the book, I basically took notes of everything that happens in all of Nina's and Zoya's and Nikolai's chapters. The doc for that is in #reading, which is a part of the Discord if you are a paid backer on Patreon. And I believe people have been dropping the !Patreon link throughout this show. We're going to be back next week finishing the book. Fair warning, this first half, part one, there's two parts. Part one of the book, would love to, STS, great idea. Part one of the book, 18 chapters. Part two of the book, what was it, Lisa? It was something like 30-something chapters.
I believe it's 31 because I think that there's 49 chapters total or something like that.
Yeah. So it's nearly double. So let's get reading. I probably might open up the doc for people to put questions in a little bit earlier, and then I will spend next Wednesday working on it again, but it goes by quickly. Love hearing that. I listen to it twice usually, and I only just made it today. So maybe I just got to do some more walks outside. But 31 chapters in comparison to 18 chapters for the second half of this book. I'm loving it. We'll have everyone rank the book as well, Goodreads style out of 5. If you've got favorite quotes, favorite moments, things that you'd like to discuss, whether it's with relationships, whether you agree with the character's motive, anything like that, we want to hear it. Avery says, my sister's reading Crooked Kingdom now, and she keeps asking me why I made her read something that's so sad. Oh, it's such a good book, though. I'm glad you got her into it. That's really cool. After this book is over, is it on to a new set? Great question. Lisa's actually been helping navigate some polls for that, and it seems like we're going to be starting a new series. Excuse me, that was my tea. We have a Google Doc that's pinned in the reading section of the Discord that you can only access if you're a backer, where everyone's put in a bunch of recommendations. So we are not short on recs. It's just trying to figure out which one we tackle next, being August, September, October, November, December. So something that's got like 5 books in it to take us out. We just did technically 2 books. Wait a minute. Have we done more than 2 books? We did 6. We've done 4 books, sorry. Six of Crows duology, and then the Nikolai duology as well. So that's 4 books. I'm kind of tapped out after 4. So I think that if there's like a series with about 2, 3, or 4 max, anything with like 5, I think it could be a bit overkill for me to talk about the same thing in that particular order. I don't know if people are happy bouncing around, like doing book 2 of that and then revisiting another series. Dresden's 16 books. Dresden, I think, is at least 16 books. Wheel of Time. I mean, if you want to talk Wheel of Time, Alison Haislip just spent the last 3.5 years reading the entire series. We don't mind bouncing around. There are a few trilogies on the list. That's exciting. I mean, I just read Mistborn, and I want to read book 2 and 3 for that. 17 books. Yeah. The Bartimaeus trilogy. We don't have Kate, but I wonder how many is in the Gentleman's Bastard series. They're very good. We keep pushing it. We do. Okay, no problem bouncing around either. Alrighty. Only 3 published. Oh, really? Ooh, that's very Six of Crows, though. Come on, Pat. Yeah, we need a trilogy out of the Kingkiller Chronicles for sure. I've got Lies of Lockeramora on my bookshelf. I haven't read it since I interviewed Scott back in 2014 for that, and I remember loving it. The only reason I'm not jumping at Bartimaeus is because I just don't know it. So let me kind of let's get that blurb happening in the reading section. The purpose of this is just the fact that we're all reading together. It's seriously the only reason why we do this. And I'm really bummed that notice is only once a month. You know? So we get to read 2 books a month now. Yay. We will do Dresden, and we will start at book number 3 because we've already done 1 and 2. Colleen finished Lies of Lockeramora last month. That's so funny. I'll read pretty much anything. Yep. Sounds good. Word and Void is another trilogy. It's modern fantasy with a cool female protag. Love it. Gideon the Ninth series I've heard really good things about as well. Ooh. So many books, so little time. But with that, we might be wrapping just 15 minutes early. That's exciting. Everyone can get back to their Wednesday evenings. Just to break it down again, the first and second Wednesday of the month, we cover 1 book. First week, first half of the book. Second week, second half of the book. The third week, I'm actually going to be hosting my How to Be a Host Bright series, where for an hour, and Jimmy can tell you all about it because he did it the last session. I talk about sort of a section of hosting. We do some activities together and I give advice. And so if you've got a specific question, it's like kind of like a dedicated sort of 5 minutes to help you completely set you up on your career. So that's going to be happening the third Wednesday of every month for the next 4 months. And then the last Wednesday of the month is Nerdist Book Club. If we get a month like June or July where there are 5 Wednesdays in the month, it'll be the middle month that we have off. So we'll do the Geek Bomb Book Club, Bright, nothing, Nerdist. No, nothing, Bright, Nerdist. Good Lord. This is why I hired Rachel. Yeah. Anyway, that's what's going to happen. A big thanks to everyone who joined in the chat again today. I'm so excited for next week. Let's finish this book. Schedule. Thank you, Gory. Yeah, see you guys next week. Does any final words from anyone in the chat? Get a goodbye. And we're gonna raid Amy. Yes, is that Jimmy?
My final words are,
Yeah.
Hayne hesitated. Can you love me in this body? Is it your heart I love? You know that, don't you?
What was that from?
That's from the Roll of Wolves.
Oh.
That's Hayne to Broom. Nina, that's Hayne. You know what I mean.
Hannah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I say Hayne. I read the book, so it looks like Hayne to me. I'm sorry.
H-A-N-N-E, right?
I say Hayne because of the N-E. That's just,
Hannah.
Anyway, you get it.
Honestly, you can tell who reads the book. That's one good thing about the audiobook, where it's like, well, I hope that's right, because that's what they've been saying, even though the narrator who voiced Wyland said Matthias. But like, some people say Inej, some people say Inej, some people say, this is another one. I think I heard Genya. It's like, hey, whatever works goes. Whatever works goes. We are going to be swinging by and supporting Amy Cassandra Martinez's channel. She worked at Geek Bomb for 3 years. She is launching her Twitch about 7 months ago. She focuses a lot on horror, if that's your jam, but please say hi. She's wonderful. Give her a follow. She's a very, very cute thing. She's very, very sweet. Loves horror. So if you're like, Maude, you'd be so much cooler if you liked horror, Amy's your gal. Amy's your gal. So go give her a very big, big Geek Bomb welcome. She likes the spooky stuff. Give her a big Geek Bomb welcome and drop the bombs. See you next week. Bye, everyone.